Hello there, it's Jackie from the Studio for Art and Craft, and I've got kind of a little surprise Sunday Halloween video for you. This is not our usual dot mandala, but this is such a cool technique that I just really wanted to show it to you. This makes a great to-go kit or take-home kit because it's not hard to do and it's not hard to do well. And it can be a lot of fun. And once you've kind of done maybe even like one side with the skeleton, that might even give you ideas about something you could do on your own on the other side of the mug. So enough yakety yak from me. Here's the mug. I guess you can get a good view of that right from there. And this is what I'm going to show you how to do today. This is using a glaze called cobblestone. So you can see how the head kind of cracks apart here, etc. And the glaze does this all by itself. So the first thing you would do is paint your whole mug black. And rather than you having to watch me paint a whole mug black, I already went ahead and did it. And you can see this comes up a lot when we do the dot mandalas, the difference between, what it looks like when it's fired black versus when it's dried before firing. So you're going to do 3 solid coats on the inside, outside, and on the handle. You have your option on the bottom to paint it if you want to, or to leave it unpainted. If you don't paint it, we will put a clear glaze on the bottom for you so that your whole mug will be completely sealed, which is important if you're going to use it, like to drink from or something radical like that. I painted mine, just so you know. We will have to put some sort of a marking on the bottom so that it has your identification on it, but that's easy. I think we can come to agree on that. So the next thing you're going to do, now when I did this one, I put it on the, what do we want to call that? If you're holding the mug in your right hand, the skeleton is facing me. So I'm actually going to do this one the opposite. I'm going to do it on the left, mostly because I think that would make such a cute set on the shelf to have one of each. So I'm going to work on this side, and what you'll get in your kit, in addition to all the glazes and stuff, is you'll get an outline of a skeleton that you can choose to use or not use, it's your call, and an outline of a pumpkin. So what you would then do, I'm taking this off for a second, is put your outline down, and we'll give you a piece of tracing paper, and I'm cheating because I already traced mine again so you wouldn't have to watch me do it. But you're basically just going to put the tracing paper down. I think you can even see that you can see right through here. And you're just going to take a pencil, all right, and just trace it. And when I take the pencil and I trace it, I don't necessarily, like if you're looking at the design, all right, let me find something to point with. I'm not really, I don't have to do like both sides of these ribs. They don't look like little moons. I just do a line because I just need to know kind of where they are. The bones, I usually just do a line and then a cross line at each end. And you'll see that in a second. So I'm going to show you all that. But the point is you're not really going to, the cobblestone's going to do its own thing. If you're not a drawer, this is helpful because then you don't have to draw your own skeleton from scratch. Hey, if you are a drawer, if you can draw, then go ahead and draw. So I'm just putting that up there to hold that in place. Okay, because I want it on the hill. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take my tracing that I've just done and I'm going to put it on the mug. Now, the thing of it is that you want to make sure that the top of your skeleton head is at least a ½ an inch from the top of the mug. The reason being is you need room to put your lips. All right, and you don't want to put your lips on the cobblestone. It's actually kind of rough. Also, it's not food safe. So I guess if it's not food safe, it's probably not lip safe. So I tend to look from the bottom. I want to make sure my toes are on the mug. But then I want to make sure I've got at least a ½ an inch. I have almost a whole inch there, so I'm going to scooch up just a tiny bit. And all I'm going to do now is I'm going to trace around, I'm going to trace through the tissue paper. What I don't want you to do is worry about having to press hard or anything like that. I'm on a turntable to make it a little bit easier. And again, here's another thing to tell you. Don't stress out. This marker will show through to a certain extent. And I'm not, I'm just getting these roughly. on here. So here's what I'm talking about. I'm just putting a line this way, a straight line, and a line. And there's my little ball joint, straight, crossbar, line, crossbar. I'm going to pick this up and show you what it looks like when it comes through. Okay. It's just an indication. And then we have the little heart-shaped thing for the hand, and then the fingers, which again, as I told you, 2, 3, hold on, I'm counting fingers, 4, 5. And then on this side, I'm going to do the same thing, crossbar, bone. Okay, I'm clearly failed anatomy. I think we get that. I'm also trying to do it somewhat quickly because watching me trace, is probably not the thrill I think it is. All right, then for the spine, I have all these circles, and, I'm just putting marks here because I just kind of want to know where the spine is. I'm going to do them how I want to do them when I'm using the glaze. So right now I'm just trying to get a rough placing. My hips, little sockets, and then again my leg bones. All right. And then I've got my feet, which for some reason I only have 3 toes. Don't ask. Okay, so that's my skeleton. And then I have in my case, I have my little pumpkin down here. I'm just going to tear away some of the extra paper on the bottom so that I can see where my little pumpkin is. Because I kind of want him to be near the hand. Other than making sure that the pumpkin is on the mug, I'm not as worried because this is pretty far out. And then I could put the lines here if I want to, but you don't have to because you can always do that later with the glaze. So anyway, there you have it. That is my skeleton transferred on to my mug. So now the other thing that's going to be in your kit, well, I should say another thing, because there's lots of things. You'll also have a couple more glazes, is this cobblestone glaze. It'll be in a container like this. We call it a writer bottle. It's got a pin in it. The pin is actually important. Keep the pin in, shake it up and down a little bit. Actually, you want to make sure you also, when you end with it, you're shaking it. I don't know where to shake here so you can see it. I'm shaking it down. Then I'm going to take my pin out. Don't lose the pin. All right, as anyone who's worked with me knows, I always end up using my hand as my test palette. I'm going to squeeze it out just to make sure it's coming out, which it is. And then here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to work kind of fast because, again, how not interesting. But I am going to just outline my skull. And I'm going to fill it in everywhere that I don't want it to be black, she said brilliantly. So, like the eyes, I'm going to go around the eyes. It's kind of like painting on this part, with this writer bottle instead of with a brush. All right, I'm going to leave a black area. So remember I told you I don't get really crazy about it because here's what it is. This is not how I drew it, but all I care about is that I have room for a mouth, that I've got like a skeleton here. Okay, boom, I'm happy with that. That's going to do what I needed to do. Now I'm going to come and just do all my little dots for my spine. The only other thing I'm going to point out to you when you do this, and now when I'm doing the ribs, is you do want them to be somewhat thickish. Okay, they won't do their cobblestone magic if they're not thick. So you've got plenty of room to get 5 of these on here, so don't skimp. And you can see, maybe, that this side I'm doing better in terms of following my lines, but the other side, I just counted to 5, okay? Doesn't really matter if you're on the line. And remember, for this, all I want to do is get the hip bone in here and just leave sockets. Okay, filling in. All right, so then up here, I'm going to do my arm bones. And so you can see what I'm doing, right? When I'm using the tip, I'm just making sure I'm squeezing it out thickly enough so that it will do its thing. I got this little heart-shaped-ish thing, and then I've got my fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to scoot around because I know I mention this to you guys all the time. I always try to work on the side where I do not have any paint under my hand that's holding, in this case, the bottle, because I will guarantee to you, put my hand in the wet paint. So this is really, I'm really happy with how this one is coming out. I'm just telling you that so you know. 4, 5, because I do like how thick these lines are. I'm going to come back to the pumpkin in a second, just because I'm going to finish the skeleton first. It doesn't really matter. If you're doing it, you could be doing it. Now, if you find, I don't know if you can see that it's not really coming out really well, and that's probably because I dragged my tip in the glaze. Oh, I can see I did that. So that's a bad thing to do. It clogs it, but you can use the pin, stick it back in there, move it around, up and down, side to side, etc., and try to clear it out. You could always take this top off if you needed to. If you do it without the little writer tip, this little skinnying tip down, it's going to come out fatter. So you have to be prepared for that. Okay, but I should be, yeah, I got it. I got it back. I'm happy. Okay. Oh, I can see me. Look at that. Approaching it. See what I mean about not trusting myself? Turn around. So I'm going to come back and redo this other one too, and that's fine. And when I redo it, I'm just going to put a little bit to the side of it to make it a little bit thicker rather than on top, because I want it wider. I guess that's the right word I want to use, is wide. Now, do not worry about things like, oh no, my 2 leg bones don't match or anything like that, because they're not going to when they're done doing their magic cobblestoning. Yes, it's a verb now. But this is the concept, is you just want to get a nice thick layer on there. That's kind of really what we're after. And now we need some toes. 3. Okay. That's one is a line. So then I'm going to come up here and do the pumpkin. And the pumpkin, so for the pumpkin, I'm going to do the outline, because I always find it easier to outline it first. I kind of know where my boundaries are. And then I'm going to fill it in and just leaving space for stripes. You don't have to. You can fill your whole pumpkin in. You'll see when I finish this and get on to adding the color. I'm going to put this up here for the stem. But this is what I want to do. Okay, you'll see what I mean in terms of how it can come out. So I'm just going to make this one a little wider over here. And I'm just going to round this up a little bit because I can. Okay, so that's that. I'm just wiping off the tip, and then I'm going to squeeze the bottle to suck the rest of the cobblestone back in. I'm going to put my pin back in it, and I'm done with that. And there's only 2 little steps left. Now, the one thing you have to do, and I probably should have maybe done the pumpkin first so that it would be ready for this next step, but you want to add the color. Here, I'm just going to move this off so you can see this one. You want to add the color to the pumpkin when the cobblestone is still shiny. So before it dries. It won't work as well if you do it once it dries. The challenge, and if it's like right now when it's still completely wet, it's a little bit harder, simply because it's hard to get the paint to sit on top of it. I'm going to do it just to be able to show you. So I'm going to kind of do the stem. Actually, you know what? I want to talk with a brush in my mouth. That was stupid. Okay. I'm going to actually add a little bit more. I'm going to fill in my stem here because I want to add green on top of that. So okay. So again, sucked in the cobblestone and putting the pin back in. All right. And now I'm just going to take my green, just because it's a little easier for me to show you how. And I'm just tapping it on, because if your glaze is wet, you just need that color to sit on top of that glaze. You don't want it to go, in too deeply. And now I'm just going to do the same thing with the orange. All right, I'm just going to tap it on top because I'm doing it sooner than I normally would have. And I'm going to just fill in this whole pumpkin with this orange. When I say fill it in, I mean only go on top of the cobblestone. Okay, I'm just going to add a layer of color on top. And then it will crack when it fires. it will be orange instead of white. So there's not much more to it than this. That's why I think it's a lot of fun. And once you've done it, now you'll have to let this, if you want to do a design of your own or another skeleton on the other side, that's fine, of course, but you just want to make sure this is completely dry. And you'd want to kind of cushion it because the cobblestone has dimension and it will break up if you put too much pressure on it. Okay, so that's kind of what I was going for. That's my move. And when that is fully and completely dry and you bring it in, we'll get it into the kiln for you, and this will be your mug. All right, so I don't know if you have any questions. You can always call us at the studio. This mug kit today is Sunday, October 4th, and this will be up on our website in our to-go kits tomorrow. And you can order your kit and have a lot of fun with it. Oh, how much is the kit? The kit, I want to say it's $25, and it includes everything. It's the glazes. We'll let you borrow one of our Sharpie markers for tracing. We do ask for that back. It'll include a little brush, the cobblestone, the tracing paper, the skeleton and pumpkin, the base coat glaze, and a brush for that, and the mug. So everything is there that you're going to need to complete this project. Wow, it looks like he has a cone head there. Okay, that's better. I'm very picky about what my skeleton looks like. So, happy Halloween. I hope you enjoyed this. See you soon. This is Jackie from the Studio for Art and Craft in Cobleskill, New York.